Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the 1:30 June 26th Board of County Commissioners Workshop. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first thing we have on our agenda today is a discussion as it relates to the Community Development Block Grant application. Mr. Rose from Region 9. You go either way. Just turn that mic on and get it as close as you can so that everybody out there can hear you.
Can you guys hear me okay?
You bet.
Well, thanks for the opportunity to come here today and present our request. So we're asking for the county's support to close out our CDBG contract number 8 and apply for CDBG contract number 9. As of March 31st, our CDBG number 8 was up to $1.3 million. And the funds are used to help support, for loan funds to support small businesses, startup businesses that are either owned by low to moderate income folks or that are creating low to moderate income jobs within our community. So all the funds just get reinvested via loans into supporting our businesses. We're applying for $750,000 in new loan funds, and along with that comes about $120,000 in admin funding for our organization to run the portfolio and maintain it. So you're the 4th stop of our 5 counties to ask for this permission. We have approval from the other 3 already. And then we go in July in front of La Plata County. They're the actual fiscal agent for the grant, so we usually do them last. We do the public notice ahead of their meeting that's required. So there's a couple of forms. I know we've had a couple conversations about the forms, and open it up for any questions that you guys have on the funds. And
So we're number 4. You've already hit like Dolores, San Juan, Archuleta?
Archuleta, yep.
Okay.
Correct.
And then us, and then La Plata.
yeah.
Okay.
And we, like I said, I think there's a 2-week public notice period ahead of the meeting, and end of July we're scheduled to meet with La Plata County.
Okay.
As just a couple other stats I failed to mention. So out of contract number 7 and 8, we financed a total of $593,000 worth of business loans here in Montezuma County alone. We're typically targeting $20,000 to $25,000 loaned per job that's in the business or that's going to be created. So roughly equivalent of 30 to 40 jobs impacted by the financing.
Okay.
And so, Commissioners, last week I met with Laura Lewis Marchino and Shaq Powers. We had a Zoom call. One of the issues that arose in terms of submitting a new application for a new CDGB grant was that one of the requirements is that the county have a no excessive force policy in place. One of the problems from my perspective with a no excessive force policy is that this county really doesn't control the sheriff's office. The sheriff is an elected official, and so the sheriff's office does have a no excessive force policy in place. Montezuma County does not per se, and so working with Mr. Powers and Ms. Lewis Marchino, we developed this letter that we're going to enclose in the packet, and in essence, what it explains is that the sheriff does have a no excessive force policy in place, but that Montezuma County does not. This requirement really, in some ways, seems to me to be more tailored to a municipality where, the municipal body is hiring their law enforcement officer. We're a little bit different in the county in that our law enforcement is run by an elected official, and the elected official does have that policy in place. That's his purview. It's not our purview. And so, I think that there's some question as to how this letter will be received. I know what some of the other counties have done is they have written letters or developed no excessive force policies and put those in place. I would advise against doing that. just because, again, it's not really our lane to be in. And so I think to pretend that somehow we have control over no excessive force, it's almost just a bureaucratic hoop that these counties are jumping through, and that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So this is the letter that we developed together, and this would be the letter that the commissioners would be, or that the commission would have to vote on and sign in order to move forward with this new application.
Okay. You know, this has come up in conversation before, actually several times, which I think we all understand that we don't control that. We have no control of that. So my question to you is, why do they always put that in there?
I think
What is?
I think it's been in there since day one, from my understanding, go all the way back to the beginning in order to access these funds, that was added in some of that legislation. So I understand from the periphery that there were those conversations that we've run the amended letter that you had suggested, Ian, by our contacts at the state, and they have appeared to accept it and said they didn't have any issues. So we'll certainly continue to pass that feedback up the chain, but I think it's starting federally versus at the state level with this particular funding.
Okay. Anything else?
You know, nothing to add in that regard. You know, I think this letter's honest, and I think it's real.
Mhm.
And so, you know, rather than putting something out that's going to create some illusion or you know, satisfy some checkbox, this is real. And so I think it's always a good policy to be real with this stuff.
Okay. Very good. Commissioner, questions?
I don't have any.
Okay. Thank you. All right, Brian, we'll have it on our agenda for tomorrow, and tomorrow's when we make decisions and sign papers, so.
Great. I have the originals here that need to be signed.
Okay.
The only one that I don't have is the letter that would need to be printed on Montezuma County letterhead, but I can leave the rest of the documents. They are the originals from the other counties as well, since everybody kind of signs on one doc. So
Okay.
thanks for the time
Mr.
to
Chair.
let me present today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, however you guys want to do it. Okay.
All right, next on the agenda is a discussion as it's related to the gaming impact grant. Sheriff Nowlin, you have the floor.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Got off the mountain, did you? I'm headed right back up, so, unfortunately.
Sheriff, do you want Station 2, or you want me to go
No,
ahead?
go ahead, because I was there and it was already up, so it's like, hey, I just turned it off. I knew you had it already. This is the Gaming Impact Grant for 2023 to 2024. It's a fiscal grant. There's categories in there that you'll see, I think it's in section E, about fire, EMS, human services. I think even prosecution is in there. There is no data whatsoever that has been kept for gaming impacts like we've done for years. That's the only problem why it's not in there this year. In fact, your grant writer even said that he just doesn't have the data to go with that this year. You got to start keeping those tracks of gaming impacts, and that is simply people that you come in contact with in any of those services, who's coming from or going to the casino, have they been there within the last 3 days, that type of thing. Those are the impact numbers that you need to generate in order to put that in there. And we've been trying to do that with our eForce RMS database system in the detention center, but there's something wrong in there that it won't keep track of it. Even though it's in there, there's no way to pull those numbers up. So there's no way to really tell to that. That's why there's no there's no impacts that we can prove or show in the detention side as of yet. So we may have to go to pen and paper type of thing. I don't know.
So
You know, these things just don't work all the time.
So the software that we have is not, we can't extract that data because
We
we've
can't
got to have
extract
the
it
data,
yet.
right?
Yes. Yeah, we can't extract it yet, but we're working on that with eForce to try and get that, to track it, so that we can get those numbers. We've tried it for the past 2 years. They'll put it in, but it doesn't record it. It doesn't save it to where it needs to be. That's where the glitch is at. And we've dealt with this for the last 2 years, trying to get those numbers. But that's why we have to go to paper and try that until we can, so.
Will our new dispatch equipment help you with that?
I don't know if it will or not.
Okay.
I mean,
'Cause I
we
mean,
track
we-
it with the calls for, well, if there is certain things that occur out that deal with the casino, yeah, that's there, but that's not,
Okay.
those are not accurate numbers. That's why we have our own tracking system in the gaming grant program for our deputies to actually mark those and track those numbers, as well as the criminal calls and the calls for service out there. So you add those all together, and that's why you see, just over 4% of our almost 18,000 calls for service have gaming impact associated to it. So there's 768, something like that, calls. So and use that in their formula, because these formulas change. I'm telling you, with DOLA, they have changed these formulas, how you figure it out, of what the impact is dollar-wise, changes from year to year. But this year, the formula is in there. It's in the grant. That's what we have to show every year, of where we came up with $141,000.
Which is, it seems low. When you look at all of these grants that this gaming impact puts out, and if it's purely because of data and we don't have it, then I understand why it's significantly lower what we're getting in Montezuma County, because it seems like it should be significantly higher.
You're absolutely correct. It should be, but we're not gathering information for EMS and fire and Cortez Police or anybody, or the EMS Southwest Hospital. We're not collecting any of that data.
Right.
Yeah, we
Just-
have no way to do that.
Just our data.
We're just the sheriff's office data.
Yeah.
And if I had any other way to track, the others have to help track those, keep track of them. You have to ask those questions, whether they're coming from or going to, or have been at the casino gambling just in the past 3 days.
Sure.
Uh,
So as far as us, we've been dealing with this for 2 years now, and we still don't have any data. I guess my question is, why do we not have any data?
Why we're what?
Why do we not have any data?
From these people? From the other
From
agencies?
just
and
our
it-
calls, not the other agencies. We can't control that. Why? It's just the software and we can't extract it. Why are we, I guess I don't understand, because it seemed like you can extract anything out of the software. Are they just not working with this, the software company?
It's just not tracking the totals after they're entered in. When people are arrested and they come into the detention center, they're asked if they've been
Right.
coming from or going to the casino within the past 3 days. And then there's a check mark, and that block is supposed to be recorded. And there's no way to extract that.
But what's the software company's answer? Why are
They're-
we not?
They're
like-
working on it. I'm telling you, the thing is that even with that, there's other things within that database system that don't have the proper type of codings in there, just even in our case reports. Vehicle makes, there's some vehicle makes that aren't even in there. I mean, Freightliner, trucks, okay, is not in there. So how do you enter that? Those are some of the glitches that we have found that have happened. And so you have to keep that up to date all the time. And trying to work with them, it only happens once a year. It's annual updates in those services, and we've tried to get them to fix this, and it hasn't worked yet. That's my answer, because that's what's happening.
So is it time to change the software? I mean, who
Well,
else is out there?
I have all kinds of salespeople getting a hold of me trying to change RMS database systems. The cost, that's the problem. The costs are so high now at least being with this for the past 6, 7 years helps. It keeps us in there because we've been a client with them for so long. When we go out and research, I can certainly do that, but I'm afraid of what it will be. But you're certainly not going to go low bid, because I'll tell you, you're not going to gain anything that way. It's what the product is that they can produce is what you're looking for. Yeah.
I guess I still struggle with the whole philosophy behind, here's our software, here's what it'll do, and then we can't extract
Well, that's one category,
the
yes.
information.
Okay, but understand that this eForce RMS database system is associated with the Cortez Police Department. And so we're able to share those case reports and that information from those two databases, okay? If you go to another one, we won't be able to communicate
Right.
that way. That makes it, I mean, that's something you just don't know if you want to sever that tie yet. I don't know. And I don't know what, I don't know that the police department's going to be looking at something different down the road. If they are, I think it's smart to looking at it jointly so that we can communicate with those reports. I mean, really, it's been a benefit.
If we can't record gaming grant for casino runs, shouldn't that be part of the gaming grant, is to be able to have software to do that?
And that is where I got a lot of this. In fact, that's where this funding came from, to pay for this, okay, years ago. So, yeah. It'll happen. I just hoping that it'll happen sooner rather than not.
So then we're going to document it just by hand for
Right
now.
now. Yeah, that's what we've been doing.
So are we,
So we'll have those figures for next year. Yeah.
so this is a July to June grant?
This
Basically
is
their
a July
fiscal
to
year,
June, yes, fiscal year grant.
23, 24, like it says.
And this adds into, this again goes into the existing gaming impact grant.
Right,
Okay,
yeah, it's just,
so-
it's a continuance.
And this is what we've asked for, and we can show and we can document and prove that this is what the impact is dollar-wise.
So how do we, and I'm not trying to beat you up at all, don't get me wrong.
It's okay.
I'm trying
I'm
to.
so used to it anymore.
I'm trying
Go
to
ahead.
figure out what is going on with the software
Yeah.
that we can't extract the information that we need.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and and
Because we're one of two counties in the state of Colorado, I'm sorry, I take that back, in southwest Colorado.
Yes.
That have a casino.
Mhm.
And with the money that we see going out in these grants, and we're getting peanuts of 141, it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, it's more
So-
than what we got this last year.
I understand that, but without the data,
Well,
which is the software,
I don't know that the data would actually increase it that much more in that category. The thing is that, because you may be even duplicating those arrestees who have already been documented for their contacts and arrests for gaming contacts. Does that make sense? So, I mean, if that question were to be posed, how can I tell whether or not we're counting 2 instead of 1? Does that make sense? I mean, I want to do this right, but understand that because this casino and the one in La Plata County are actually in Indian country, we're at the lower tier, okay, than those that are in Cripple Creek, Central City, and Blackhawk. They get the lion's share of all of those gaming impact funds, even the counties surrounding those. That's what we're up against
Does,
every year.
does the casino shuttle get counted at all? In
The
the
shuttle?
number, the shuttle they bring up here and take people back and forth, does that have any effect on your numbers?
No.
Okay.
We don't, I mean, it would have to be the casino, and I'm sure that they've got record of all of that, but how does that fit in here? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's something we can that's a good idea. We can certainly see if those transports from the shuttles would help.
I don't know if anybody is riding Moco to the casino. I don't have any.
I don't think so, but I don't know. You would know more than I would about Moco's deliveries and
Yeah.
pickups, but most of it's all done by the casino. And I don't know. That's a good question. I can certainly find out,
Heck, yeah,
yeah. Because I know they keep track of that.
yeah.
It's a free service for them,
Just add numbers.
I don't know of-
That's all we're talking is numbers.
yeah. Most everybody that I know of drives their own vehicles. That's why we have those contacts. Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
yeah. Okay,
okay.
question?
No.
John?
Thank you,
Good.
Steve.
All right.
Okay, all right.
Well, maybe somebody can let me know soon.
Thank
Because I
you.
think this has got to go in pretty soon, so if not, that's fine, I just need to know, so that,
Yeah, this'll,
I can get that
this'll be on the agenda for tomorrow.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, have a good day.
You too. Okay, next, we have a discussion that relates to the cooperative agreement between Montezuma County and the Forest Service. Mr. Englehart. Good afternoon. I came down one of these roads this morning. The worst one.
I suppose that's what we're gonna talk about today. My name is Yona Cabin at Groundhog, we're gonna talk about this a little while, yeah.
We're gonna talk about this road. Let's talk about this road.
Well, first off, this is the new cooperative road agreement schedule, as we call them.
The mic is off.
We-
Sorry.
Sorry. We haven't done one of these since 2018, so we're due for our 5-year cooperative agreement. So the Forest Service and I met this past winter and went through each one of these individual roads and made a few adjustments, tweaked a few things, and then basically it's the same agreement we've had for many, many years now. The verbiage is still the same. I know I sent you guys or I had Virginia send you a copy of it to review, and you got your copy, so.
Yeah.
I think as far as agreement goes, we all understand what it says and what it does. Okay, and so it's pretty cut and dry for that if you want to continue working with the Forest Service with these type of agreements. You might as well jump to the one that everybody's interested in, Road 31.
Well, because when you look at, I mean, everything on there is pretty straightforward. It's just basically blade it once a year.
Yeah, except that the Forest Service agreement on their side of it is to replace the surface.
Yep.
So it becomes very clear. And even though we have agreements with them to do things, work on things, if we pay it for it, they pay for it, there's different ways to function. That one becomes very clear that the surface treatment should have been fixed years ago, and it just got beyond repair. We can't repair it anymore.
Yeah.
So we do have a new agreement on this one that says the Forest Service will purchase the materials. They'll buy the asphalt, they'll buy whatever it takes for us to go blade patch it or whatever, till we can get more funding to pave it again. Which I have been told, and I think they're being honest about it, in 2025, they'll receive $6 million out of that bipartisan
Yeah.
bill that Congress passed for infrastructure, which will get paved then from Butler Corner all the way to the county line, which is a pretty good deal for everybody. But we gotta wait 2 years to get that funding, so. So right now, the Forest Service has told me they think they've found enough money to do several loads of asphalt this summer, but it'll be August before we can get it. When they can pay for the materials, I'll be happy to go blade patch it, so that was basically how the agreement worked this time. And this is a 5-year plan. Rest of it pretty much the same, blade a few ditches here and there. But if you look at Road 31, I mean, they do surface treatment, they do slide removal, they do roadside brush mowing, they do culverts, they do everything. Even
Yeah.
that sign that you guys, we all made an agreement to put up for that Little
Yeah.
Bean Canyon. They bought it, but we'll put it up.
Yeah.
So they're very good about taking care of their side of the fence here, and
Yeah.
if we'll just go help them do the work, so. So that was about basically the whole thing. Red Arrow Road still is no maintenance on both of us. We're not on it no more. Well, we're still on it, but it's no maintenance on it. So if that ever comes up, the Forest Service wants it left alone. That's where they want it. So anyway, that's the thing. So tomorrow, unless you need me, I would ask you to sign this. There's a place for 3 signatures back there, and give a copy to Kim, and or let her make a copy and send us the original. We'll get this turned back over, get this all done. So.
I don't think that we need you for any reason. That's the whole purpose of presentations today, where it's quick and easy, and it'll just be set for approval and a signature tomorrow.
Okay.
So I don't see a purpose for you to come in, Ron. I'll get that to Travis. I did notice some of the patching is done, and I'm assuming we did that, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, then we got the biggest of the potholes. We're gonna try and get back up there later. Well, we got a busy week this week, but I'd like to get back up there and do a few more, especially up at the upper end above House Creek on some of that old chip seal. We need to get that worked on. And I did tell the Forest Service, chip seal, that's different. That goes and comes as the water goes and comes, but that asphalt, that's been there for years. That should have been replaced years ago, when we had the means to do it, the equipment and everything up there 4 or 5 years ago. So, this is theirs, so. And they're working out, they're getting it.
Well, again, thank you for the holes that have been filled, and
We'll fill some more. But, you know, there are some that we need to get up there. I was up there today, the crusher's up there running now, so I was up there for that.
I did
And,
see that up there
and
this
there's some-
morning.
And there's some potholes that are developing that are bigger than your typical delamination of that chip seal, so we'll get back up there and get some more potholes fixed. Potholes are still there to fix.
Mhm. Questions?
No.
Actually, it probably kept him slowed down a little bit coming down the hill.
Actually, the potholes didn't, but the cows did.
They make
Those-
it, they
those
make up.
black
ti-
cows
they-
sure did.
They make up their time on that new part, though. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so. But, yes, you know, I think that lower part, we got potholed a little bit. We need to go up and do some more next week, and that'll help a lot. But it's gonna be a little chippy till August when we get up there and blade patch it. They say they got 75,000, which is, used to be quite a bit of money, but anymore with the price of asphalt, that's limited too now, so. Be careful with it.
Well, I mean, just evaluating this morning coming down, now that I realize that cattle guard 1, 2, 3, and 4, if you can go even to House Creek,
Mhm.
which is beyond cattle guard 2,
Yeah.
3,
No, 3 is the one past House Creek down to the draw.
okay.
Then 4 is the one that's right where we start our new work a
Yep,
few years ago.
just start at the new road at like 8 miles or 8.5 miles, whatever, yeah.
So, yeah, there was that bad one at 2, and then you go between 2 and 3, which is just past the House Creek turnoff. That's the worst of it.
Yep.
And then you're on up through there, and you can kind of still dodge some of those. So,
Yeah, you can
Kinda
dodge,
dodge.
you can dodge some of
there's a
those.
kind of word in there, yeah. So, anyway, there it is. The same agreement's worked good for us for the last 9 years I've been here, and I think we ought to sign it if you're willing to. So, okay.
Questions? I mean, you guys have probably seen this prior or longer than anybody, but.
Yeah.
It's a good tool. It works, has worked for us anyway. Okay,
Okay,
good, thanks.
Don't
Thanks,
run
Rob.
off, Rob. Can you hang out for the next agenda item?
Oh, okay. Girls want complaint?
okay, the next agenda item is a Joe Moore Road Corporation presentation and request. And we have a Mr. Robert Meyer. Come on down, you can sit, you can stand, whatever makes you most comfortable.
I guess I'll sit.
Okay. Pull that mic as close as you can, turn it on.
How's that? Commissioners, thank you very much for hearing from us. I'm Robert Meyer with the Joe Moore Road Corporation. I handle the maintenance. The Joe Moore Road is County Road 40.2. It's a red road from the cattle guard at the entrance to the state wildlife area all the way around to the Big Pine Lake subdivision. I'm here today with our association president, Lucinda Glass. And our first purpose here is to thank the commission for the help we received in 2020. We approached the commission about the condition of the road that is heavily public used from the cattle guard to the boat ramp at Joe Moore Reservoir. With your assistance with providing material, we coordinated with CPW and the Forest Service as well as Mr. Englehart. Thank you, sir. And we're able to significantly improve the condition of the road in a very bad stretch. That stretch of road goes through a very poorly drained area and is very problematic, especially in the wintertime. And honestly, if we hadn't had this improvement done in cooperation with the other agencies, we probably would have lost access to our subdivision throughout this winter for several months. So that has prompted us to return and say, to express our appreciation and Also, if possible, we understand this may not be possible, but the rest of the road, all the way to the subdivision, does lie on public land, and it is used, much less so, but it is used by the public as well as the subdivision residents for access to the public lands. And we were hoping that there might be some way to work with the commission to access a few loads of material per season that we would haul at our expense to accomplish two tasks. One would be to repair and maintain the road for the public who use it periodically for public accessing the east and north side of the reservoir, as well as in kind of coordination with your emergency management plan to identify spots. We have identified approximately one spot per 10th of mile, so it'd be 7 locations to harden for emergency vehicle egress and ingress in case of a wildfire or other major event where we're having a lot of traffic in and out. If you'll scroll north from where you are on that map, it's north of Bower Lake, quite a ways, another mile. Keep going. Road 40 enters the forest, goes left, keep going up. You're looking at Little Bower, and okay, there's Joe Moore. Yep. And so the road traverses, you can see the road traverses both state and forest lands to get to the subdivision. And it's a mile long. The Joe Moore Road Corporation handles all the maintenance year round. And we're a purely voluntary organization because of the way the community was set up back in the 50s as a summer home place. We have no way to compel anybody to provide any dues or anything, so we try to keep everything at a pretty moderate rate, but as you know, prices are going up with everything. So we're doing our best to, Lucinda has developed a really good plan to try to treat about 1/4 of the road each year, so we have a 4-year rotation before the road of applying material. And so, once every 4 years, we will start over again and start from the beginning and apply material. So, what I'm here to ask and see if you could help us out at all on is, especially with the spots we've identified. There's already kind of wide spots where there isn't a lot of timber. It'd be ideal locations for pumper trucks or emergency vehicles to stage, or for private individuals to get out of the way if the pumper truck is making shuttles from the boat ramp back around to the lake, that sort of thing. So that's what we're here for. Whatever you could provide would be greatly appreciated, and we are very grateful for what we've received already.
So, how many lots does this serve back there? I can't really. It's kind of funny. I was just at the assessor's office last week. The subdivision itself is platted with 13 lots. There is a 14th lot that isn't included in the subdivision. It's on the far left edge. It's a smaller, odd-sized one. And then the 12-acre property north of the subdivision is also served. So there's 15 individual properties. 13 are in the Big Pine Lake subdivision. When was this developed?
In the 1950s, Leroy Everett subdivided it. And I think the first lot was sold either in the late 50s or early 60s. At that time, the road was a 2-track on native soil, essentially a ranch road. Maybe it was used in the construction of the reservoir and logging as well, but I'm not sure what its origin was.
So, I think you said that these were not all full-time residents?
It is, we have 5 properties that are occupied year-round.
Okay, because this is a red sign road.
Right.
And typically within subdivisions, red sign roads and we have a lot of them.
Yeah, I understand.
That,
You can't support all of them.
I mean, we can't support all of them for sure. But I guess my question to you all, if the maintenance is getting, and it sounds like you already do quite a bit.
We do. We put in
So-
thousands of dollars a year.
Kudos to you and your group, but it doesn't seem like adding that much more funding for gravel would be that big of a deal. Am I hearing you right, or?
Well, anything we could receive would, if we're paying for the hauling, then that's going to cut, I don't know, the last time we looked, I think it was $385 a load for county spec 3/4 delivered. And so, if we can get the gravel from you and just pay for the hauling, that would knock a couple $100 off per
Because
load.
I think we do green sign roads, right, Rob? If there's a green sign road that we will put the gravel towards, they still have to haul it.
That's correct.
But red sign roads, historically, we have not done anything with. Because this service is just this subdivision?
Well, in the public lands along the road. I mean, that's why we got the
Yeah.
boost from you guys in 2020 to do the first 0.2 of a mile to the boat ramp. That's the most
Sure,
heavily used
sure.
portion.
Right to the boat ramp.
Yeah. I have had a few conversations with Jim Spratlin, your
Emergency manager?
yeah, and he and also I've been involved with the wildfire adapted as well, and they do recommend that wherever you can that you provide for turnouts and whatnot for emergency vehicles with regard to fire. So it's really beyond our means. We just have trouble. I just have to give Lucinda credit for herding all the cats and receiving the funding that she gets. We have people that just blow us off, and they ride on everybody else's coattails. And
Sure.
we keep the road going, and it keeps the values of the properties up. And so we're just looking for any way we can improve our situation, even to the smallest degree.
Okay. Questions, gentlemen?
No, the only thought that comes to mind is that's a Colorado State Park, right?
It is CPW.
And they're getting all those funds now from the license renewals. You
Well,
might-
we've got to collect them for
Yeah.
a year, and then they'll be available after in '25.
Yeah. So they may have funding available in '25 to help you out, but that didn't help you out now.
Okay. And how is that accessed?
So there was
That's a
an,
good question.
Okay.
well, that's forthcoming. So
Right.
that law just passed the legislation this year. We have a few state parks in this county, and we have the road we were just talking about, which is heavily trafficked.
Yep.
That goes up to
House Creek.
Lone Mesa. I think it's Lone Mesa State Park, because I've already had that conversation of how do I keep this road good, because everybody goes through our county to get to Dolores County, where the park is really at.
Right.
Jackson, I think we only have 3 in this county that are state parks. I could be wrong, but they are heavily traveled, and most of them are off of county roads that we are paying the burden for. I know that doesn't help you today, but that funding is available, and when that information comes out, we'll be able to look at it further from then.
So would that flow through the county, and then we would access it through
It would
direct
probably
them?
have to flow through the county. I don't know if it would be to a private subdivision organization at all. I don't know. But I don't think they've come up with all the rules yet for that funding. First of all, they've just got to collect it. But like I said, in the past, it looks like you provided material just up basically to the front parking area there.
Yeah, basically all the way through that to the forest boundary right there, the
Right.
red area. It was 25 loads of 3/4 spec, and the CPW hauled it all. They brought in a dozer, a compactor, and a civil engineer, and they actually built a causeway through the lowest area so that it's elevated now out of the swamp that used to be there, that is still there, but now the road's above it. And so without that, we would have been sunk this
No.
last winter.
Not accessible.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're very grateful for that. And, you know, it worked well. Everybody I worked with, Mr. Englehart, Jack Powers, all the agency people, even our ditch rider, Steve Boyd, came out and he provided water out of the lake for the compaction purposes while they were building it. So we brought a lot of people together to get the job done.
So commissioners, this isn't necessarily a legal concern with this request per se. But what I will say is that our office gets a fair number of calls about red roads and what a red road is. And, you know, I spend a lot of time telling folks that, hey, when it comes to red roads, the county doesn't claim any right to a red road, and we don't maintain red roads. And so, you know, I think that's something to certainly think about as you're thinking about this request. I mean, whether we want to open up that can of worms,
Trust
so to
me,
speak. And it sounds like we have provided some material in the past, but, you know, it's certainly, it's not going to be a legally binding precedent, but it is going to be, you know, something that I would anticipate is going to have to be explained to the general public by you guys and by me and other.
Well, I think we get that request constantly. I mean, I've had it in
Yeah.
4 years. We get
Sure.
other presentations up here of, please take over our road and fix
Yeah.
it in this subdivision. I mean, we've got a couple of those going on right now.
Well, and the way we presented it and the way the commissioners agreed last time, Mr. McLaren, was that, you know, this was for the public because it's public access, and that was all we were dealing with. And our part as far as the Joe Moore Road Corporation was that we made an agreement with CPW that we would do our best when we were doing our snow removal in the winter to keep some areas plowed near the boat ramp so that the public didn't end up parking on our road and blocking it, which has happened in past winters. And so we provided CPW with that plowing service. And so, you know, I wouldn't think that that's too much of a precedent right there. And I don't know how many of your red roads traverse public lands to get to private subdivisions. I imagine there's a handful of them. But this is a little bit unique in that it, you know, traverses both Forest Service and more state land before it enters a subdivision. So people use that road for, you know, whatever, accessing the lake, bird watching, what have you. There's always some, you know, recreational traffic on it.
I think from a legal perspective, though, it's also important to understand that red road, yeah, it's being used by the public right now. You know, what it is in terms of whether it could be closed off to public use, I don't know, and the county would make no claim either way. I mean, I think that there's probably arguments that this road has become a public highway through prescription, but I mean, certainly we're not making any representation that that's open to the public, not open to the public. This is a road that's on the ground, and that's all we know.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't have anything else. We can't take these red sign roads over. There's no way.
And we're not asking for that, Commissioner Cooperative. Not asking for that at all.
I think if I have your request right, if I wrote it down properly, you're just asking for some material periodically as you need it?
Primarily, our first ask for the material would be to improve the emergency vehicle two-way traffic because it's a one-lane road. So in the event of an emergency where there's a string of pumpers coming to the boat ramp to pump water to bring it back to defend the subdivision, and we have evacuation of the subdivision ongoing, we don't have many places on the road to get out of the way of the equipment.
Almost
Which is-
every red sign road in the county meets that criteria.
We have a huge
Some of
subdivision.
our green sign roads don't meet that criteria.
So, okay. Well, I think we know what your request is, and we'll make a formal decision tomorrow on it. It's, this is just a workshop, so we
Right.
don't have, we can't make
understand.
decisions today,
Would you like either of us to attend tomorrow's meeting?
just a discussion. That's totally up to you,
Yeah.
Okay.
totally up to you.
What time is it?
We start a meeting at 9 o'clock tomorrow.
Okay.
And I don't see it on here, so we wouldn't make a decision based tomorrow. It would have to be the week after that, because it's not on the agenda for tomorrow.
Okay. So it'd be the
It'd
following
be-
week.
It'd be 2 weeks, because of, obviously, we have to post these in
Uh-huh.
advance. If it's not on the agenda and we talk about it, then that's not transparent.
And then we have the 4th
So-
of July.
Yeah, so it would be the following next regular meeting,
Okay.
yeah. Which is not gonna be on the 4th of July, right?
Right.
It would be
The following week.
7 days after that, yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
so if you wanna put that on that, for an agenda item, Travis, after
The
that.
11th.
The 11th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Gentlemen, thank you very much for
All
your
right.
time.
You're welcome.
Appreciate
Thank
you.
appreciate it. Okay, now we're gonna talk about our emergency sick leave pool. Miss Dorenkamp and Miss Verna Bitsilly. You got time to stick around for a minute?
Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
There you go.
A
Okay.
little closer.
I can't get any closer.
Pull it a little closer.
You're good.
Off to the side.
Yeah, pull it towards you.
Okay, so with the county's voluntary sick leave pool that started in 1996, it has at some time and frame become extremely misappropriated and misused. So it's been used inappropriately and dwindled down to not even being able to support one request. So we're at the point as to either eliminate this program and or else restructure it to try and alleviate some of the tracking issues that have come to the forefront from past years that it hasn't been tracked or it's been used inappropriately. So the first set of documentation I gave you is a draft where before we would ask new employees that came on to donate 2 days of their time after they accrued X amount of time. And then and like I said, it's strictly voluntary. Either they could or they couldn't. If they did, it was at some point you couldn't use it until after 6 months after you had donated the time. That time is taken away off of their accrual in payroll. And then it does have to be a catastrophic event. And I think that was a huge part of the failure in this program, where it was just being used for anybody, everybody, and whether it was for scheduled surgery or whatever. It was not an actual catastrophic event as it was explained in the explanation and agreement. And that it wasn't being checked. One person was making a decision. And that was the other part of the issue.
Who was the one person making the decision?
My predecessor. So,
Okay, how was it originally set up? Was there a,
well, back in
Group of
1996, I'm
people, or-
not sure originally how
Yeah,
it was
none of
set
us
up.
know.
And Verna did a lot of research and trying to find documentation, whether written or electronic, of it being tracked. And that's a lot of times people were using it, but there was no evidence of them even donating to it. Like I said, it's been grossly misappropriated. And from what our best concerns or best findings that Verna could find, we're down to 217 hours if we're finding everything that we can. Which currently it's set up to where if someone in a catastrophic event and or illness wants to request time, they can have up to 45 days, which I believe comes up to like 340 hours or 380, 60, something like that. We don't even have the time to cover one request at this point in time.
So this is just a pool, wouldn't it be easier? So your recommendation is to get rid of the pool? Basically.
Yes, either to do away with it completely and or else restructure it to where it's on a case-by-case basis.
But on a
where-
case-by-case basis, say one of you gets sick, couldn't we still just put it out to all the employees, and if they
Yes,
wanted to
where before
donate?
it wasn't.
8
You had to
hours?
donate it ahead of time, and then all those hours have been given out erroneously, you know, where this would be on a case-by-case basis, where that person would be like, okay, I've used all my accrued vacation, I've used all my accrued sick leave. And this would have a much stricter guideline on the hours you can request, max of 80 hours. And then there would be a committee that would come together, the benefit committee, and they would say, okay, does this fall within the category of employee only, catastrophic illness or catastrophic event? And if it does, then we would put out cast a net countywide saying, is anybody willing to donate 80 hours to X employee, or you don't even have to, we can keep the employee anonymous.
But you could
for this
donate
case.
8 hours.
Huh?
You could donate 8 hours, right? Up
Yeah,
to
you could
80.
donate 8 hours or however many hours. Like for myself, I have gobs of hours, so if somebody needed it, I'd be like, yeah, sure, here you go. And then that would be the other caveat for tracking Nightmare, is that once someone requests it and once it's been approved and once the donation had been collected, once that time was taken away from me and given to Verna, let's say, Verna needs to use those 80 hours consecutively, not spot here, spot there.
Sure, because
Or
she has
I
a
only needed 40 hours, but then they have
catastrophic
40
illness.
extra hours.
Yeah.
It's the complexity and the tracking that is entailed on that is crazy. And so to help streamline that, it's a one and done, full service, one-time ask per year moving forward, and then it's a lot cleaner, I think, that way.
Because we did some research with several counties around here, 4 plus one of the city entities, and I called their head of HR department asking, what kind of programs do you have? Do you have anything volunteer? Almost every one of them got away from it because of the tracking Nightmare and the fact that, yeah, if somebody used it or did what we're trying to do appropriately, make sure it's for the right criteria. They said it just became a mess. So they quit doing that, and a lot of people went from your sick leave and your vacation to PTO, and only one county, I think, does it with the 80 hours, I think it was. That's what they do. If somebody has an event, requests it, they'll put in there what their sick leave and vacation is, use that first. If they need 80 more and there's enough, they'll donate it one time and they'll use it within all that one time. And they said it was way easier to track that and know which, employer or whoever needed it. And it was specific, catastrophic, like if one of our employees got into an accident, they were in the hospital or something to that effect.
But then the benefits committee would basically make that determination.
Right, it wouldn't be up to just one person.
person.
Right, correct. I think
Okay.
was a huge oversight also before.
But we're not getting rid of being able to donate time if somebody has a
No,
catastrophic
before
event.
it was donating and pooling it ahead of time.
Yeah.
Now it's just restructuring it to where it's a case-by-case basis. And we could kick off or start it off with, let's say an event does occur. We have those 217 hours that we can put towards it right off the bat, where we aren't asking the county employees right out of the gate of this restructure. At least we have that to the best of our knowledge. So,
In the last year, 5 years, how many times has it been used? Do you have any idea?
correctly,
Yeah,
one,
Yeah, one
Okay.
correctly, but
incorrectly? Incorrectly?
several, a lot. Yeah,
unfortunately, I think most of the times from the way it was set up has been used incorrectly. Because according, if you look at that first piece of paper that they did for voluntary,
Yeah.
there's a criteria. And if the paperwork we found, the actual event wasn't part of the criteria, but they gave it to them anyway. So that
Okay.
right there was misappropriated as far as not have been following the outline of what it was for. And then
Right.
the fact that I only found bits and pieces in the computer and all the paperwork that I was able to physically track and say, okay, this has been accounted for, they've donated, so we could be way off, but I couldn't find other paperwork to prove it.
And how do you determine a catastrophe? I mean,
Uh,
one person's catastrophe
Well,
is another person's,
right.
know.
Well, obviously, like if you have a stroke, that was unplanned. That's catastrophic if you can't, come back to work. And that person's used all their stuff, but, or a horrible car accident. You're in a horrible car accident and
But just-
something to
yeah.
that effect. Not
Okay.
like, okay, I have a surgery, but I'm never at work anyway and I don't have any accrued time. That's not catastrophic.
Either it's a
event.
pregnancy, it's
totally
not
agree.
catastrophic,
Or,
yeah.
it's just
planned
like,
event.
yeah.
yeah.
Unplanned medical, something that happens to you, yeah.
just, in my mindset, that's what catastrophic means.
Gotcha. So let me ask, I'm going to ask you two questions. One, have you talked to the benefit committee?
Yes.
And this is
And of
kind of their
those, I
recommendation
sent out
also?
12 emails, 6 people showed up. I did send all this draft out to them and ask for responses back or any commentary. And there was two commentaries, and that was it. So that's why I got on the agenda to present and move forward, either with disbanding it altogether or just restructuring it, so to speak.
So instead of making a decision tomorrow, I guess my question is, we have a department head meeting coming up on the 12th also, right? Or,
The 6th.
so would it hurt to just kind of talk about this in a department head meeting also? I think so that we have all the department heads in here and we can talk about it with the benefits committee to make sure, because it makes sense to me, get rid of the
Right.
sick pool. But here again, it was way prior to me, and
Right.
just so that everybody understands it and knows about it, I don't think waiting another week is gonna
No,
hurt anything, and then
No.
we can put it on the agenda after
that's
after our
fine.
July 6th meeting.
That's
Are
fine.
you guys okay with that? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just speaking out loud.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, we had Laurel Schaefer from the health department was here. Luann
Yeah,
from upstairs, from social services was here. Jason Hernandez from the assessor. Amy Archibek from the treasurer. And Kelly Condor from the clerk's office was here. And who am I missing? One other person was here. Out of all the emails that I sent out to all the department heads.
So this
who
is
had
basically
representatives
from
came.
you, HR, and the benefits committee. This is the recommendation to us, is to
Correct.
get rid of the pool.
Because after we looked at it, since I started, I've been with the county almost 4 years, but I was at a different position since I started here in October. They tasked me with this, and I couldn't even tell you how many hours it took I was having to piece it when I was doing something else. It took a really long time to find, and the thing is, if there was more documentation or data, it'd been, great to be accurate. I looked high and low, any place we could, dug in stuff that they hadn't looked in a long time, and all we could find in the computer. So everything that I generated, pulled together, was many, many hours.
And with our new onboardings, I haven't even been broaching the subject because I know that it's an issue. So I have had departments reach out and say, did you talk about sick leave pool? And I'm like, no, because it's being looked at right now. So I don't think that's fair to put something forward and ask somebody to donate when it's not even a fully functional system that we have in place.
Or we're gonna keep it in
Or
place.
it's
yeah.
broken and it needs corrected before
I-
we continue down that path.
Yeah, and I definitely look at it and I can see what you're talking about. It doesn't take away people still being able to donate time if a catastrophic
if they
event
chose to.
occurs.
Right,
It's just we don't have a pool.
Yeah.
right, exactly.
I mean, if you don't mind waiting until the 6th, that's only a few
I
weeks
don't
away.
mind. I don't see
I
why
think it
not.
makes sense
Yeah.
to make sure that everybody understands what's being
Sure.
presented so that we can.
That's
so,
perfectly fine.
Okay.
Okay,
Well, if you guys are okay with that, I think we'll put that as a action item for discussion on our department head meeting on the 6th.
Yes.
okay,
Thank you.
All right,
thanks.
thanks. Okay, and with that, unless Ian's added something on me, we are at the end of our agenda. Thank you.